Good evening, folks. It's Old Truth Speaker again. It's been a little while. This is going to be a quick vid. We've been hearing a lot lately about African Americans who have been voting for the Democratic Party for over the past 55 years. And I was asked, and a lot of people have asked, and I've seen it, who should an African American vote for? And why are black people, or the majority of black people, call themselves Democrats? Well, originally African Americans were Republicans because, well, we all know President Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. That's why they call it the Party of Lincoln. Even though today that's somewhat different, but that's not here. That's a subject for another video. I'll be brief. But when FDR came along and African Americans voted for him, but it wasn't until the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act of 1964 and 1965, signed by Lyndon B. Johnson, that the majority of blacks aligned themselves to the Democratic Party. Now it's been, let's say, over 55 to 60 years that blacks have continually voted for the Democratic Party, and we have never gotten a thing out of it. On the other hand, it's been an academic and economic disaster. Our communities have gone into reverse. It's rather appalling. They're taking black votes for granted. They don't even promise you anything. I mean, it's rather sad. Me, personally, I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I'm an independent. I'm going to say this. African Americans should vote for the candidate that's going to do the most for the black or African American community, like every other bloc. There was an Hispanic bloc a few years back that went to a certain party and told them, if you want our vote, this is what you have to do for us. If they're going to do whichever candidate that's going to do the most for the African American community, that's who you vote for, but you have to have a promise, like a contract signed with Black America, and hold them to their promise. If they're not going to provide any benefits, don't for them. Don't vote for them. For what? Look at our communities. We've been voting for the Democrats for the last, well, not me per se, but most of us have been voting for the Democratic Party since 1965. And look at our communities. And we've died in every war and have been on every battlefront. Isn't that sad? Look at us. I've said it before and I'll repeat it again. The Democrats have never done anything for blacks. The old Democratic Party never done anything, and especially not the new Democrats. Some people said that the modern Democrats or the Democrats of the 1960s, when the party switched, the Democrats are nothing more than the old Dixiecrats. That's the modern Republican Party, I'm sorry, but the party switched somehow. That's what's been said. But one person, look what Bloomberg said. Bloomberg said, I'm going to make 1 million African Americans rich. I'm going to help them build up their communities, and we're going to build better schools in their communities. Now that's far gone. Now that's before, but look what he promised. That's the kind of person you should be voting for. And not just promise, hold these people accountable. Why vote for somebody that's not going to do anything for you? That's the way and the Republicans are getting in office without your vote. Now we can't back racists or people who align themselves with racist parties and all that. I'm not telling you who to vote for, but how to vote, how to pick a candidate to vote. We need somebody that's going to build up our community. You know what I was told, or rather a group of us were told, that black people are considered a permanent underclass. That's an insult. We have aligned ourselves with a party that mean about as much to us as an alligator. No, I shouldn't even say that. At least the alligator has a purpose, doesn't he? I was actually told to pull out of both parties and just go independent. And whatever party promises anything to the African American community, that's the one, and promise to deliver, and we have to hold that person accountable, get a contract with that person. That's who we vote for. That's who we align. One, we unite and vote for that party, or person rather. This is ridiculous. The Democrat, I'm going to say something. At the time of JFK and Lyndon B. Johnson, these people are not the same. This is just foolishness now. These Democrats today don't care anything about us and has never promised us anything. I'm going to say something. Somebody said Joe Biden didn't do anything. Sure he did. He gave us the crime bill of '94, which locked up more blacks and left more women and children homeless or without fathers in the homes than any other president before or since. Am I telling you not to vote? No. Vote for who you want to vote for. But this is how we should vote. Who is going to do something economically and academically for our community? This is outrageous. You know, a lot of us, I myself have had an uncle who was a December 7th, 1941 Pearl Harbor vet. And could you imagine what happened to him when they came back? He had to move almost 1,000 miles away because they were treating him so bad. Him and a lot of other people in our community at that time, back in the 40s. All I'm saying is let's be careful who we are voting for. But not only the Democrats, the Republican Party has never done anything for us either. But as a party, that's why, never mind who people associate themselves with, what color their skin is, or what language they speak, what are you going to do for the African American community? That's how people are voting. We come together as one, we unite, get our leaders to go to these candidates. What have you done for me? What are you going to do for me? That's who we align ourselves with and make them keep that promise. You want our vote? Do something for me and my community. Do something for the African American community. I don't care what party it is. I'm talking about the person, the candidate, he or she. If you want black votes, do something for African Americans. Like African American, some of the most dangerous I'll rephrase that. I'll just say this. Most politicians are full of crap as a constipated elephant. I'm talking about Democrats and Republicans. They're lobbyists. They're in the pockets of big business and special interest groups. They don't care anything about the people who put them in these offices. They're going to put forth laws that benefit the people who they're getting money from, who's greasing the palm of their hands. You understand? I'm talking about politicians, Democrat and Republicans alike. We need somebody that's going to fight for us, plus our nation. Because most likely they're going to look out for the nation, but we have to stop aligning ourselves with parties that's not doing anything for us. Look at the civil rights. Everything that we fought for has practically been given to everybody else but you. It's not benefiting us. The poverty level in African American cities, wherever in the black communities, are just a disgrace. Only 41% of us own our own homes. Do you get that? That's outrageous. 73% of all African Americans are born in a single parent household. If that was any other ethnic group, it would be an all-out national emergency. You ever heard of a policy called benign neglect? Daniel Patrick Moynihan came up with a policy called benign neglect. and he gave it to President Richard Nixon to sign. In other words, in order for the black woman to get something, the black male had to be out of the house. There was already a war on the black family, but that was more or less the icing on the cake. That same Daniel Patrick Moynihan that said the civil rights was unconstitutional or something, he attacked it. I mean, but the point I'm trying to get, let's stop aligning ourselves with people who are just using our vote to further their own benefit. They didn't even try. We know black people are going to vote for us. Come on now, let's use our head. I don't care what party you are, Democrat or Republican. If you're not doing anything for me and my community, if you're not going to benefit the African American community as a whole at all, you do not have our vote. That's how it's supposed to be done. Period. Vote like everyone else. Let's use our head and choose who we're going to vote for wisely. And above all, let's keep God first and pray. There's too much racism, hatred, poverty. Then we have COVID-19. Due to a poor response, there's over 200,000 people dead in America alone. It's outrageous. Aligning themselves with the Proud Boys and all these white supremacist groups. This is I don't understand. Be careful who you vote for. If they're not going to benefit you and your community, Mr. African American, Mr. or Mrs. African American, don't vote for them. You heard the song Janet Jackson said, "What have you done for me lately?" Do 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 do. God bless, folks. And pray. Let's pray for the peace and health of our nation. God bless. Good afternoon, folks. Yes, the Soul Truth Speaker, coming to you again with some more extremely bad news. It's about the shooting of Jacob Blake and Breonna Taylor. It's an ongoing investigation into all the shootings recently, of just a rash of shootings of African Americans. But Breonna Taylor, a hard-working EMT worker, in her own apartment, murdered with a no-knock warrant, bust into this woman's apartment where the suspect didn't even live. Right now, the authorities are just waiting on the FBI with the ballistics report, claiming that they were looking for drugs. Now, the woman's boyfriend said she don't know anything. She had nothing to do with drugs. But the fact is, you know, they're protesting. People are protesting Black Lives Matter. And that's not to say that all lives doesn't matter. But it seems as though Black lives doesn't matter. We've been in every battlefront. We died on every battlefield. I had an uncle who was at December 7th, 1941 Pearl Harbor vet, and came home to America, got treated like, well, you understand what I mean. So everybody is tired of the way they just killing and shooting black people. But this woman, everybody loved her. She minded her own business. She was a hard-working mother. And to just bust in and murder this woman in cold blood, this is outrageous. Now, I've had quite a few people, you know, ask me about a video and what were my thoughts on integration. I just leave that alone. I literally will. But there's nothing wrong with peaceful protest. That's your constitutional right to protest and march peacefully. But burning down stores, looting and killing is nonsensical. And the very stores that you have to patronize, it's just outrageous. Well, one thing we know for a fact, the Black Lives Matter marches have been just jumped in by other groups. who are deliberately trying to stoke division and violence. And now you got people being murdered while protesting, two different groups coming in, and Breonna Taylor did nothing wrong, and all the officers involved should be put in prison for the rest of their lives. This is outrageous. Now, Jacob Blake. I mean, it's. I just want to tell you something. This is literally heartbreaking. Now, we literally have about 5 or 6 different stories. He stopped to break up a fight in Kenosha. Then he's tussling with the police, which we can see in the video. Then they say he had a knife in the car. Then the police, let me tell you, this is why African Americans do not trust cops. I'm from this city. I'll tell you, I've known an awful lot of racist, dirty, and bad cops. But I'm not saying not all cops are bad or racist, but you do have a hell of a lot of them that are. Anytime you disregard the life of black people, that much who died in every battlefront, that tells you a lot about the country that we live in, but not about the country as certain individuals, because I have never seen this much violence under this one administration in all my life. It's like all the white supremacists are just coming out. But I'm so proud and thank God for all the good Christian white folks coming up and down marching for justice for African Americans. But I'm just going to give you a little bit of brief synopsis, little brief information on Jacob Blake. Mr. Blake walks around a gray SUV, opens the door side of the vehicle, leans inside with the officer, grabs his t-shirt. While this man children is in the van, grab his t-shirt and shoots him in the back 7 times. They say 1 hit his spine, 2 hit his kidneys, they saved the kidney or something like this. All the vital organs were just riddled with bullets. Then they said the man had some type of sexual charge. The one thing came up on fact check and said that was a lie. He never went anywhere near a 14-year-old. It's just back and forth. Wait till we get all the information. Wait till everything come out. The FBI is stepping in and they're doing their investigation as well as the civil rights group. Wait till all the info is stepped in, because for me personally, I do not trust anything any of these police stations are getting ready to investigate themselves, so we know what that's going to be. They're going to find themselves innocent like they usually do. But folks, this country needs God like never before. And we have a president that's stoking division. I've never seen anything like it. I don't know what he's doing. What is his problem? I tell you, I'll say it again like I've said before. Most politicians are as full of crap as a constipated elephant. Most of them are lobbyists and just outright phonies and self-seekers and just use our money to take trips to all over the world, golf courses. They don't pay any insurance, or they didn't at one time. I think they have to pay now. But you know how many vacations out of 1 year Congress takes? But never mind. But getting back to Jacob Blake. This was outrageous. Do you know something? Right in Charleston, South Carolina, where that man went into that church, Dylan Roof, they asked this man to pray. What did he do? He killed all 9 of those people. And you know what they did? Took him to get a whopper to cool him down. The man that killed Philando Castile in the car, all he was trying to do is get his license out. Wait a minute, I'm getting my license. The cop shot him to death in the front of his fiancée and his children in the car. And you know what they did? Calm down. Calm down. He's just a Negro. Calm down. Tamar Rice, a little child. You know what they did? 13-year-old. The same cop who has been in different locations for shooting people. What happened? He got right out the police car, murdered that 13-year-old child. We're not even going into Sandra Bland. We all know about George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Eric Garner. Hold up, selling cigarettes, hold up, choked to death. Over and over again, you see these racist, psychopathic cops cold-bloodedly murdering African Americans. So somebody actually asked me, John, what are your thoughts on integration, all those marches? I just refuse to answer. I say, you draw your own conclusions. As a matter of fact, let me tell you how this worked economically. At the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, Lincoln freed the slaves. There were approximately 4 million blacks. About roughly 250,000 were free. At that time, blacks owned less than 1/2 of 1% of America's wealth. Here we are, 150 years later. 60 years of marching up and down for equality, jobs, and justice. In 2020, right now, African Americans still own less than 1/2 of 1% of America's wealth. You see, we have a problem. We need economic equality. We need to have businesses where our money can circulate in our community. Because when African Americans go to the bank who are well qualified and educated, a lot of these banks say no. But they'll give their enemies money to put businesses up in African American communities. You understand? That and the attack on the black family, Daniel Patrick Moynihan gave Richard Nixon a policy called benign neglect. That literally took the icing off the case of the icing off the cake. That helped finish the black family structure. That's why you have 75% of all black people are born in a single parent household. If it was any other ethnic group, it would have been an all-out national emergency. But right now we need economic equality. We need to stop the police profiling and violence. And most of all, we need God. Praise God. I just want to thank you for watching. What are your thoughts? Pray, folks, because we really need it. God bless.